This is the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast. I'm Dalton Gray.
And I'm Ryan Humphreys.
Broadcasting from our hometown of Fairbanks, Alaska. This show is brought to you by Stealthy Hunter. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast, everybody. I'm Dalton.
I'm Mo.
We are back.
You're back.
We are so back.
Yeah.
I've been gone for a little stretch here. Oh, you already need a refill. For those audio listeners, didn't get to see that. Check out Mo's rage throwing of an empty can on YouTube.
There you go. Maybe
Great Alaska Hunting Podcast.
Might be a good short. The first short. I've been wanting to do shorts. They're good for marketing and everything, right? Got to get this Great Alaskan Hunting Podcast.
Are they actually great for marketing, or is it just another marketing ploy?
Both. Anyway.
I have heard that the conversion rate on social media for marketing purposes for specific types of businesses is actually extremely low.
I didn't say social media. I mean shorts on YouTube. Shorts on YouTube, when people are watching them, it's like when you're scrolling, right?
Okay.
I know, we don't do that, but when people do that,
sure.
when you just waste your time away on the toilet or whatever, watching short videos that you're too impatient to finish, even though they're 3 seconds long.
The Yeti vlogs?
Yeah, those would be one of them. I saw one of some redcoats the other day. It was great.
I saw the same one.
Dude, the AI is amazing. Anyway, and I mean, but you find a video. I'm just telling everybody how it works, I guess.
I guess so.
You find a video. Maybe it's a gun guy or whatever, and he's interesting. You like what he has to say, and so that's one of the. I think that's one of the number one ways probably that people are finding new content on YouTube now.
Yeah,
is through the shorts.
I like to watch the Not a Gun review videos.
I haven't seen those. Good.
It's the channel that I showed you when you were over here a few weeks ago.
Did you?
I guess like a month and a half ago now. Yeah, the one where they all dressed up in different era costumes and had to go to a gun show and buy era-appropriate guns and then have a competition.
Okay, I don't think I've seen the specific video you're talking about.
They have a couple of new ones that are hilarious.
I don't have time to watch all this stuff.
Yeah, well, every once in a while it's fun to skip through one of those.
I have a family. Kids.
I have a family too, but they're mostly all dead and skinned on my wall, which just got back from the tannery this afternoon and added to my family. So, and I dropped off 2 more members for the future.
Nice.
My family is growing.
Well, seeing as this podcast has to be out in 4 days, right? 3 days?
Today's Thursday.
Friday, Sunday, 4 days.
Good counting. Didn't even have to use your face.
It's been a long week, man. 4 days. There may not be any shorts as a result of this video, but maybe. Depends on how hard they are.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I wouldn't have a problem with shorts, but...
Well, you better not. I would do it without asking, so...
Well, that's...
Yeah.
That's good. That's what I like about you. You're just independent.
Oh, yeah, I'm a go-getter.
I don't have to micromanage you.
Yeah, well, if you did, I'd quit.
Apparently I missed a real humdinger of an episode.
Yeah, well, you said you listened to some of it.
I skipped through some of it when I got back to town and got to the story.
You know what works good for marketing? A great title.
I noticed that we garnered a couple more 1-star reviews from that.
Oh, did we really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I hadn't seen those yet.
Yeah, I just happened to look at it.
On Apple?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I happened to scroll to the bottom. I was looking at which episode we had one of our first guests on, and I scrolled too far, and I got to the bottom, and it said rating/reviews. Now, we got a positive review from it as well.
Okay.
Positive written review, which, let's just take a moment for a commercial break, folks. The best way to support the Great Alaska Hunting Company podcast is to leave us a positive
5 stars.
5-star but positive written review on Apple Podcasts,
How you liked the show,
or Spotify. That's the only way that we ask for support. We have partners, not sponsors, because you can't buy our opinions because nobody would want to pay for it. That's actually not true. But all we ask of our listeners, which, by the way, we looked at our numbers for the first time in a number of months, and we really appreciate everybody who's listening to the show. Mm-hmm. It's exceeding our meager expectations for a show that's just...
For yourself for looking at the numbers for the first time in a while.
Okay, well, I didn't know that you'd even looked at them, but...
It's part of... It's another click away from posting an episode, so...
Sure. So,
check them on them every once.
Thank you for everybody who's listening to the show. We really do appreciate the support and all of the written reviews that we do have so far.
Yep.
So if you would like to help us out at all, the best thing you can do for us is give us a 5-star rating and a positive written review and share it with a friend.
Yep.
So anyway, I've missed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Hunter shot a bear on the side of the park's highway and got lynched for it. You've been doing some bear baiting.
I have.
Tell me about that.
Well, there's not much to tell.
Yeah. But there is.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of a deeper meaning there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I baited up the same bait that I baited and shot 2 bears off of last year. I mean, the first bear I shot last year was Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
So I had bears on it, I think, for at least a week at that point. And so this year, I didn't expect much different. I thought maybe they'd hit a little later because it was a little colder. It was definitely colder for a while this spring.
Man, what a cold spring it was until like a week ago.
Yeah, I know.
Very cold.
And then here, and then things really started to green up and stuff, which is usually when the bears really hit the bait. And then nothing. And I'd go out there, nothing. And first beginning of June, nothing. And I'm kind of getting a little bit like, what's going on here? But I wasn't really worried. Mm-hmm. It's only the 3rd year on the bait, so I'm not super worried about it. And then, I went out there last week, and so at that point, I've got about 2 weeks left to hunt. And 2 weekends anyway, and nothing. And it kind of blows my mind because I haven't really done anything different scent-wise. If anything, I have more.
Right.
In some ways.
It'd be a bummer to clean up.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
But... I don't know. I have...
The blackbirds have been, or the crows, ravens, whatever, have been eating a lot of the dog food for me. So
that's good.
It's disappointing when you come in and half your dog food's gone and the birds ate it, but...
I set a bait years ago, not terribly far from where I am right now. Mm-hmm. And I set it, and then I went out there to check it the following week, and this was I set it the first week of June, right? It was just an exploratory type deal. And I think I'd put out 100 pounds because I was pretty sure I was going to have bears all over it. And I had a ground blind that, just a little brush blind. Mm-hmm. And I went in there with a buddy of mine a week later, and I got into the bait, and it was just smoked. I mean, pecked down to the dirt. Notice the verbiage I used there.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, man, this place is tore up. It's down to the dirt. Not even moss left here. I thought it had been smoked by some bears. And so I was, grabbed the SD card out of the camera, went and got in the brush blind, set up my little 3-legged stool to sit on, and, got all my warm clothes out and on the ground so I could do that all quietly as the night went on. And then sat there for a while. And then I thought, okay, well, nothing's immediately here right now. So I'm just going to check the SD card. And I waited a little bit because we were in a ground blind. And I thought, well, we snuck in here, so maybe something is right next to us. After that had happened and nothing had showed up for about an hour, I thought I'd check the SD card. So I did that. And I realized that the SD card was full. It was a 16 gig card. And that's a few thousand photographs. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, there's something living here. How come there's no bear scat on the ground? Scrolled through the pictures. Every single one of them was ravens. Every single photo was ravens. In one photo, I think I had at least 30 in one picture on the ground.
Yeah, I think I've just had 1 or 2 on this one. And so, I started with 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And I did the thing I always do, especially at this bait. Some baits you don't have to do this, but this bait I know the bears are kind of slow to hit it, so I always take my bag and I cut it open and I spread it over the bait. Keeps the rain off of it, helps it last a week or 2 longer, and without molding out, and then the bears are ignoring it. Yeah. I think that's what brought the birds in, because they could see that big flag of trash through the trees. Because there's a lot of big trees where I'm at. So, I only had one or two birds. It wasn't like a whole bunch. And I took that away, and they were, and like the amount of food that was disappearing was way less after that. And I've only been, replenishing a little bit with a little bit of grease and dog food.
A bag there like that before for that.
I don't remember the first time I did it, if I did it with my dad at one point or something, but I started doing it, after I got really tired of shoveling up 6 inches of petrified dog food that the bears didn't want because it had gotten all soggy with water and moldy.
Yeah, it's just a dog.
And it really is annoying. So, yeah, so I had that. So I had started doing that, just like not putting as much dog food down to begin with, but also like helping preserve it a little bit. And it does work for a week or two. And then it's also a really good flag because if that's off the bait, a bear or a crow or raven or whatever it was. Yeah. And then I got same thing. Got there, that was off the bait. Half of 50 pounds was gone from like 1 or 2 birds in a week. Climb up into the tree stand, set everything up, thermocell everything. I am just like, got the bow hanger going, everything. I'm just ready to go. Like, all right. I think, all right, time to check the SD card, right? And I've been there long enough that the thermocell's actually starting to work.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes are disappearing, and I get my phone, and I click, I'm looking, I'm like, and I was mad.
Yeah. Yep. Been there. Well, that's a bummer. But, I was trying to think back because you were hit me up on the inReach because I was over at our bait, I think, the last time you were out.
Yeah, it was
checking
last weekend,
yours. Yeah. And so I got your message, and I was sitting in the stand with my wife, which we'll tell that story in the next episode. We've got a couple of stories to tell there. But I was thinking back to other baits that you or I have had, and I don't think that you ever had a bait that went dry like that after a year that you had bears, but I did.
So I did have one.
Which
I didn't bait it the second year, and I never had more than 1 or 2 bears on it to begin with.
Was it the one that you shot the last one with your bow?
Yes. So I shot that bear, and I thought I had a grizzly on it the same year.
That's right.
And then my dad went and baited it the next year because I was focused on building a house, right?
Right.
And he didn't have anything.
He put it in the same spot.
I don't know if they put it in the exact same spot. I don't remember. I can't remember. He was talking about maybe moving it up the hill or something. I don't know what he did. I'd never been in there since. But
interesting. Yeah, that's something that, I had that happen to me at one spot where I baited a spot. That was when I was running solo for a couple of seasons. And I had a bait that got hit. And I had some bears on it. I didn't have a lot of action. It wasn't that remote. There were other baiters in the general vicinity within a few miles of me that I later figured out. But I baited it the one year. I didn't shoot anything off of it. And then I baited it the next year. And it was like middle of June and I still hadn't had a hit yet. And this was quite some time ago when I was still able to be home for all of bear baiting season. So it's been a while ago. But I noticed that year I didn't see hardly any other tracks from other trucks around or wheelers or anything like that. And so I went around like up and down that trail system looking for where the other baits had been that I had found the previous year during cleanup, because I'd bumped into a few other guys that said, oh yeah, I'm 5 or 6 miles down this way, or I'm 4 miles down that way. And so I went over there and none of their trails had been ridden at all. Like for weeks, that there was fresh grass growing up and nothing was ridden over. None of the bogs were disturbed. Like the mud bogs had moss growing on the top of them, like just green slimy moss. So nobody had even been in there for a while. And so I actually rode into one of them and it was just completely abandoned. And I could smell that there was food there earlier in the spring and they had just cleaned it out. And I actually got in touch with one of the guys that he had given me his information. I sent him a message and I asked him, I said, hey, are you not baiting here this spring? And he goes, no, dude, I hadn't had any hits in like 5 weeks. And so I just pulled it and put one out somewhere else. And so I don't know what happened there. I never did go back But that was just due to other reasons. I went to different spots that were better overall.
So,
But
I mean, you also know that I went the next day and checked
to our old spot.
to an old spot that you and I had baited, and we never killed anything there because grizzly bait.
Yeah.
And a lot of other kind of baiters in the area. When we were in there, it was packed with other baiters in the area.
Yeah, we were there.
But we were always covered up in bears.
We were there 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I went in there with one of my sisters this year.
Yeah.
Not Tabitha.
Yeah.
And because she wanted to bait a little bit this year, and so we went in there and set it up, and she'd been checking it and kind of keeping it freshened up and stuff. And she couldn't make it this last weekend, which was the last weekend you'd be able to hunt grizzlies on it anyway. So I went in there to check it, and nothing. You know, I got a rotten beaver carcass there in a bucket,
Yeah.
dripping fluid down a tree.
When you and I had a rotten beaver carcass in a bucket?
We didn't even have a rotten beaver carcass.
Yeah, we did.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was just a stink bucket.
There was beaver carcass in there.
Was it?
That old yellow bucket with a red lid. Because I've still got pictures of Samson standing up, putting his nose up to the bottom of the bucket. And then eventually, one of them pushed that tree over.
No, the tree's still standing there. I hung a bug beaver off of it this year.
Well, they pushed a different one over that we had a bucket on.
Okay.
Because
no, that
the
tree
first
was like
time,
this big around.
the first time you and I went in there, we had hung 2 buckets. And they had pushed one of those little stick birches over to get to that bucket.
No, the other one was like that big around. The one that we have the big picture on.
Yeah.
And it was in between the camera and the bait.
Yep.
And it was up high, and that's when. So I put that bucket in the same spot.
Yeah.
Exact same spot.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And ripped it to the tree real good, and figured, eventually something will lock it down. But nothing had been in there. And that was always a late bait. Like, we never had anything hit until the last week of May.
Mm-hmm.
And so this being a later season, I kind of wasn't surprised that she didn't have bears the first week of June even. I said, just, last week. But nothing. Now, I went in there. I scented it up really good and stuff. They can get in there and eat the bait out and everything. Feed the bears.
Yeah, at this point.
Because, we hauled 150 pounds of dog food in there.
Yeah, at this point, you're just trying to get them in there.
Because they were eating 200 pounds a week.
Yeah,
they'd clean out 200 pounds in a week and be eating dirt for 3 days before we'd come in. And
how many pounds did you and Tabitha bring in to our bait while I was gone? Did you bring in 150?
Not quite. I carried the 2 beavers and a 57-pound or 47-pound bag, and she carried 2 35s.
Okay, so that's 100 pounds.
That's 120 pounds.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. On my back with the beavers.
That was a goner.
Yeah.
Not a piece.
Yeah, I kind of spread it out a little bit in different spots, too. So
we only brought in 100 pounds, and when I got in there, I went, oh, boy. Should have brought in a third bag.
Birds, too, or do you know?
Not a single bird that I could tell from evidence, but the camera wasn't on.
I know. That's why I asked if you knew.
There are not birds at that bait. Like, we sat there for a good while. There was an eagle there.
Okay.
Screeching away across the way there, down the valley.
Probably could smell that beaver.
Well, he was flying around above the marshes out there, and he was doing, he'd do a big high loop, and you could hear him screeching. Then he'd come down, and I thought, man, is there like a dead moose out there or something? But he always stayed high.
And eagles usually do.
Yeah, but that's the first time I've ever seen an eagle out there, too. Huh. But there's also a brand new giant nest in one of those matchstick spruces.
Oh, really?
Way up high. Like, it's a dead tree. I don't know why there's a nest there. Low-income housing, maybe. But, yeah, I wonder if it's still going to be there here this next sit. Because by the time this comes out, I'll be back in town from this weekend prior.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you're still coming up dry by the last week, then you're going with me.
Yeah, well, that's part of the advantage of helping other people put out some baits.
Exactly. Scratch our backs. I'll scratch yours.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
I
I helped put out 3 baits this year aside from mine.
That's right.
And every single one of them, I had the option of being hey, when can I come hunt yours?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And last year you didn't need to.
I didn't need to.
Because you
No,
were
I
killing
was
giants off of yours.
slamming. I could, and if I had more, if I'd had more, a little bit more time that last week, I may have even killed another one off of mine, another 6+, which would have been something else.
Yeah, I'm real curious what else is working ours as of this week now that we got a carcass there, because last year when Tabitha shot her color phase bear, 2 days later, a grizzly bear was on that bait, and he was still there 4 days after that, the next time that I went in there to check it and hunt it. And I would probably shoot that grizzly bear if he showed back up. I don't know if the exact same one would show back up. I'd be kind of surprised if it did. But
grizzlies don't tend to be as repetitive.
But you never know. It could be. But anyway, that's a different story for a different time. Long story short, next episode is going to be
some bear bait killing.
It's going to be some killing stories, regardless of how this hunt goes here in the next couple of days, because one of our other buddies shot one. I was with him. And my wife also shot one. So I was home for 48 hours and was in on 2 bear kills. So my back was killing me. Like, actually killing me. I felt very old after a couple of days. I don't know what it was. I did something to my back. It, like, yesterday and today, finally felt better. Just in time to carry in more dog food. So, anyway. Spring guiding was good. Yep, got a real nice bear on one of the hunts. One of them succumbed to the weather.
The hunter succumbed?
No, he wasn't a quitter. We stuck it out, but it was a bad deal.
Oh,
a lot of wind, a lot of rain, mixed with a lot of wind. It's awfully
a lot of wind here.
It was windy today.
Not really compared to like last night when I was on the roof.
When I was driving home from work today, it was blowing like all the trees were bent over.
Really?
Yeah.
Not when I was driving over here.
Huh. Was it still looking like it's raining up on top of the ridge here?
Yeah.
I wondered if we weren't going to get a thunderstorm tonight.
It keeps calling for a new one every night.
Next week is supposed to rain every day.
Is it?
Huh?
Well, hopefully at least cool it down a little bit.
And then Friday it clears off.
Oh, perfect.
So you and I might be out of that, but we'll see. But yeah, no, the first hunt, we spent 7 or 8 days in the field on that first one. And it was an odd deal because day one, we spotted pretty nice bear. And we had seen a few bears. I think we'd seen a couple other bears on the first day. And, well, maybe it was just one or two for sure on the first night. And like, I mean, we had just set spike camp that morning. Like, first night, the wind switches. We get into our area. We're glassing. And look at, okay, there's a bear. There's one. And then I was, looking down in this area. And I, just with my naked eye, I went, okay, that's moving. Pull up the binos. Okay, that's pretty thick. Get in the spotter. And the first words out of my mouth was, holy smokes, that's a lot bigger bear. Because, you look at a small bear and then there's a rubbed out sow on the other side of the beach, and then you look through the spotter at this thing and it's giant, dark, ripped, walking like he owns the whole bay. Whoa, that's what we're looking for. Something like that. And I looked at him for a minute, and then I said, all right, let's jump in the raft and we'll go down here and get a little bit closer, cut the distance a little bit, because we were still a ways off at that point. So we got a little closer, put the spotter back on him, and I looked at him again, and he was still out in the open, and he was always moving, like he was just cruising, and he would walk back the same way. And I said to the hunter, I said, man, I think we need to get a lot closer to this bear. Like, this is one that we need to get a really good look at. This could be a really nice bear. So we got in up closer to where he was working, and he decided to leave the flats where he was and walk around one side of the bay. And so we went around to the other side, not knowing that he was going to do that. And so I was already over, and at this point, we're less than a mile away. And so we got out of the boat, and I'm looking at the bear in the spot and scope and the binos, and there's some stuff that's fallen in the water there over time, some slides and stuff. And I got to looking at him, and I said, man, I think that's a nice looking bear. Can't quite get a number in my head to stick, but it looks like a nice bear. It's definitely a boar. It's definitely of some size, but I'm having a hard time. And part of it was he didn't have an old man walk. Didn't have, swinging his back legs. Didn't have a super intentional, stride. He was just moving. He was cruising. But when he got to this downed stuff that was in the water, he's looking around, gets up, puts his front feet up on a log, looks around, and to go where he wants to go, out, he's got to either go through all that dead wood, crawl underneath a bunch of stuff, or go into the water and swim. It was like high tide. It was pretty high water at that point. And he put his feet up on the front of that log, looks over at the water, looks, and then I can hear him. And then he turns his head over towards our side of the bay and starts doing that all the way across the bay. I could hear him. I was like, do you hear that? And he goes, yeah, I can hear that. It's like, I've never heard one do that before. That was new. It was super vocal. Just seemingly for no reason. And he turned around and came around towards us. Started walking the other way. I started laughing. I thought, man, this is hilarious. You have this giant brown bear, and he doesn't want to go get wet. Seemingly like he's just putting up a fit. Like, no, it's not worth this. He turns around, starts coming back around. And so now, and when I say he was cruising, he was cruising. He was a ways away. He turned and came back towards us, crossed where he had been, and then starts coming around our corner towards us. So he covered, it had to have been a mile or more in a matter of a couple of minutes. He was cruising. And so now it's decision time. Do we shoot this bear or not on day one? And we've already seen a bear of this caliber. So you start to overthink things. Mm-hmm. And I was still, like, as he was getting closer and closer and closer, so the client and I got into position that there was some rocks on the beach, and it was just a perfect ambush. The raft was a little bit behind us a ways and kind of tucked out of the way. The bear probably still could have seen the boat. Matter of fact, I'm sure he could have, but it wasn't moving, and the wind was in our favor, so he didn't care. And he came, and he went into the corner, and I'm looking at him, and I said, man, I know this bear is 9 foot, but I don't know that he's going to make, like, high nines. He's a good bear. He's very square. He's very proportionate. He's not lanky. He's not skinny, but he's not old. His build looks like he's in his prime. Like he's not a super old bear. And so, we kind of went back and forth, and then over he comes, and now he's at 100, 80, 70, and he's still just coming in. And then he stopped at about 80 or maybe 75 yards, kind of looked, and then just kept on coming. And so then we decided, nope, we're going to wait. This is day one. We are not confident that this is the best we can do just yet. Let's just be patient and wait. Which is breaking a lot of my own rules.
Yeah, don't...
Pass ye not up on the first day what ye would be happy with on the last.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I'm tired, man.
So, I stood up, kind of waved my arm. Hey, let's go. And at 65 yards. And he stops, looks at us, turns and blows off into the woods. And I thought, okay, we're good with it. We made the decision. This is, we're just going to wait. And that night we were talking about it some more, because that's what you do when you make a decision like that. Yeah. Like, did I just screw up? So we were talking about it, and now we had video of him at 65 yards, and so we're looking at that. And the next day we saw him again, he was running other bears out. We'd see a small bear come out, and then, boom, out of nowhere, goes across and runs them into the woods, mouth open, chasing them off into the alders. And at that point, when he left, I said, that was in some soft sand. Let's go look at his tracks. And so he had come out a ways. He had found a way through all that dead wood the next day because he was farther out. And then he disappeared, went back up into the area where he was, up in the flats, and run another bear off. And so I said, let's go look in that soft sand really quick, and let's just go look at his tracks. Just to see if this is going to confirm what I'm thinking. And it was. The front track was just about 9 inches wide, which usually, in my experience, the front track's width in inches plus a little bit is about the average square of the bear. So in general, if I've got a 9-inch wide front pad, not in the mud or the sand where it's going to distort it and go wide, right? Because they'll do that. But if you've got like some good hard gravelly sand that you can get a good solid track from, if it's 9 wide on the front pad, then it's usually going to be a low 9s bear. Could be 9.4, could be 9.7, but in general, it's somewhere in the 9-foot range. And that's what his front track was. And so I said, well, this confirms it. He's probably like a low 9s bear. But he looks awesome. Like, he has phenomenal hair. He has a great build. Like, this bear is in his prime. And so after that night, the client said, you know what? I'm not in the habit of passing on a good animal 3 times in a row. So if we see him again, let's go after him. I said, okay, sounds good. I'm good with that decision. And we hunted and hunted and hunted and glassed and glassed and glassed. And we didn't see him again for like 6 days. So now we're both going like, we had this thing dead to rights at 65 yards on the first night. And now here we are getting rained on, sitting underneath a tarp, which in all reality was nothing like the next hunt that I went on. Like, that was real rain, to the point where I had to take my tarp down so it wouldn't rip it in the wind. Yeah, I mean, talking like 50 miles an hour sustained. That was fun. But so we waited it out, saw some other bears, and throughout the hunt, it got better and better and better as far as the number of bears that were showing up. And the number of bears that were showing up that were lethargic. Like, they would come out on the beach, and they would be laying down for 20 minutes, get up, nibble on the beach grass a little bit, go lay down again, come back out. So, hey, this is great. It's only going to get better. Either that bear is going to come back, or he left because he got run out of here by something that's coming out in the dark. So we'll stick it out. We're not going anywhere. We will get another crack at a bigger bear, or the same one, because he could have gone on a loop looking for a sow too early, which they will do sometimes, or he could have gone on a loop just because he's just doing bear stuff. And he'll come back, and he's probably going this way. And I showed him on the map, like, this is the circuit that they'll run. And so anyway, came around, I forget how many days it was. It was probably a week or so in between the second day and when we saw him again, that we hadn't seen another shooter bear. And so he popped back out, and he popped out closer to us, not far, well, actually farther out. We were sitting there glassing, and it was getting late. Like, you're looking at your watch type of deal. Like, okay, it's getting a little bit darker. You're thinking about what mountain house meal you want to eat when you get back to camp in the dark. And I happened to just look across the bay from me. I had just looked over there, because once you look at a bay for so long, you don't have to have your spotting scope scanning it the whole time. If that dark spot wasn't there 25 seconds ago.
Right.
So I looked over, and there's this giant black blob walking down the beach across from us, like straight across from us, and the wind is coming out this way, in between us. And I said, oh, there's a bear. And he was immediately just cruising. And this bear in particular had a distinguishing, like a real long goatee-looking chin to him. Like, he had real long hair underneath his chin. So I swung the spotting scope over, I was in the spotter for like 2 seconds, and I said, that's the bear. He goes, it's the same one? I said, yeah, that's the big bear from a week ago. He goes, let's kill him. And I said, yeah, I'm all about it. So, throw everything back in the raft, and we're getting into position, and now it's a race because he's moving. And we have to get to where I know he's going to go and cut him off. Because we can't go in front of him on the beach and cut him off, because then he'd get our wind and he'd probably see and hear us because we'd be too close to him. So we have to go to the other side, get out, and walk over up this little flat and try to get there before he does. Mm-hmm. And he's moving. He ain't waiting for nobody. And luckily, he stopped and ate some grass along the way. And long story short, it was low water, and we were still losing water. And so we got out, as far as we could get the boat in, and then we jumped out of the boat, and we were probably about maybe knee-deep water. And so, I real softly put the anchor in. I said, leave your pack. And the client had a tripod with one of those little shooting yokes on it, and which worked out great.
Like the clamps, or just
no, just a little, just a little Y attachment on top, so that he could shoot standing up or kneeling and not have to use his pack. So I told him, I said, look, we got to go. Like, when we get out of this boat, we have got to move, because otherwise he's going to beat us there, and then we're going to lose him. He's going to go into the trees just like he's always done. We've got like 20 minutes left of actual good light, and we don't want to be in here in the dark, because there's other bears working in here. Now we're in their kitchen. So, long story short, he stopped to eat a little bit, and by the time we got into where I thought we were going to be able to shoot him, he was already out there. Mm-hmm. And we stopped, and I ranged him, and he was at like 250 yards. I said, no, he's too far. And the client was shooting a 375 H&H, and he was shooting the same ammo I was, coincidentally, which comes into the story later. So we waited for him to kind of walk a little bit. He then turned and walked a little bit away. He's kind of angling away from us a little bit out in the grass flats. And my first thought was, I don't know really if we can catch up to him around this corner, because you're not going to catch a walking bear, really a walking anything. If it's walking away, hard to catch it. But he had already stopped to eat a couple of times along the way in there. I thought maybe he'll stop to eat. So at this point, we're already here. We're already up in this little creek spot. Let's just go. Let's just give it a shot, because we might not get another chance. Might not. We might, but we might not. Mm-hmm. And so, grabbed our tripods. I had stuck my phone on my tripod little clamp mount. And so we grab our tripods, and we're, sneaking around the bend, and get around the bend, and there he is. He's just standing there, and he's out there grazing in the grass. And I thought, man, we got you now, sucker. Because now he's not paying attention to us at all. And so we were able to sneak into about 160 yards. And then we were out of cover, and we were losing light. So I said, okay, it's now or never. I ranged him, and I said, 160. You shoot that? And he goes, I can do that. If you're good with it, let's just kill him. I said, okay, let's kill him from right here. And turn the video recorder on. And I should preface this by saying the reason that I don't like starting the shoot fest on brown bears at that distance is exactly for what happened in this situation. If they light off and run, now you're trying to make a running follow-up shots at
greater distance.
Yeah, quickly approaching 200 plus yards, which is tough to do, even on a big brown bear. And so, just given this situation, we had plenty of room for follow-up shots. He wasn't right next to the brush. I would not want to shoot one at that distance if he was right next to the brush. Mm-hmm. But because I knew we had probably 100 yards-ish before we would lose visibility of him, I was pretty confident that we could fill him full of lead, or in this case, copper, before he made the brush. So I told him, I said, kill him with the first shot, and don't stop shooting until I say to. Just let him have it. And he started walking again a little bit, and I stopped him, and he turned and quartered to us a little bit. And we'd already had the talk of where to shoot a bear, and I said, ideally, I want you to be able to hit him on a quartering 2 shot. That's my favorite shot, because then you can break a shoulder and go through the lungs at the same time, because then you're going to break a leg, which is going to slow him down a little bit, and you're going to carry all that bone shards and fragments through the chest cavity. And so he shot him through that front shoulder, and he missed the shoulder bone by just a touch.
Oh, really?
Like it was still a perfect shot. Still got both lungs, and it came out right at the back of the ribs. Great shot. Instead of dropping and spinning, or spinning and biting, or jumping up, or any reaction, it was boom, boom, straight run. Just a straight up sprint. Gone. Full stride right off the bat. I went, oh boy. So he shot, and we'd had the talk of, I'm not going to shoot it unless he's on a full run, because then the clock is ticking. So he started off on a dead run. I shot, and then client shot. He was still running. I shot, and long story short, I ended up handing him more ammo, because he had gone through his, and through the course of it, we had fired off 9 rounds collectively and hit him 7 times. Now, each of us missed once. I think I shot 4, and he shot 5, and each of us missed once, which for that distance,
not bad.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, I think it started after the 3rd shot. The client's 2nd shot, you can see it on the video, just really was a great shot. Hit him, and he just rolled and somersaulted. Jumps back up, straight back to the run. Like every time he got hit, he'd go down, he'd get up, he'd run again. He'd get hit, he'd go down, he'd get up, he'd run again. It was crazy. He was just soaking it up. And which is pretty much lives up to his attitude that he had previously when we'd seen him. Seemed like he had a bad disposition. So, I think he jumped up. He had fallen into a little creek. He got up. He started to run again. I shot him. He laid down, and then he got back up. The client hit him again, and then that laid him down, and then he was still trying to get up, and I said, shoot him one more time. And he shot him again, and that just lights out. Just flatlined him. So it was awesome. It was a great display of shooting on the client's part. I have had some clients that have done some good shooting, but I've never had one with that high of a hit rate at that distance on a moving target. That was pretty impressive. And I told him that several times. I said, you don't understand. This is some good shooting. And he had to clear a malfunction in his rifle in the process. And he still was able to get off 5 shots and to hit 4 times. All solid hits. So we'd get up to the bear, and he was every bit as big as we thought he was, plus some. He was well into the 9-foot mark. He was a very nice bear. I think it was about a 27-inch skull. It might have been just a shave under, but a very wide, shorter skull overall than some would be. But he was wide for how long he was wide. Like proportionately, he had a real wide line. So just looked great. Not a hair out of place. I mean, he had one scar that was down to the leather right at the top of his neck, right in front of his shoulders. That was an old leathery scar. And he had kind of a weird, shorter, fat claw on one front foot, so that was kind of neat. And when I was skinning him out, didn't find any bullets, because we were both shooting 300 grain Barnes TSXs, just factory ammo. And didn't find any of the bullets. They all went through. All of them fully expanded. All the exits were as big as they should be, so nothing penciled through. And I found a buckshot pellet.
Oh, really?
Underneath his hide, on one of his ribs. It was all grown in there and scarred over. So
like a serious size pellet.
Yeah, I mean, I can. I've got it right here.
Okay.
Let me.
Can you reach with the cord there?
Yep. I can do that.
Yeah, let's see this pellet. Hold it up for the camera here.
Yeah.
Oh,
this is the first time I've ever seen this. You know, I've heard of guys, you know, recovering stuff like this out of bears before. Got to sift through all of the stuff that's in here. My bullet.
Refer to a previous episode
collection.
For a
right there.
Episode. Oh yeah.
That's it. So that was underneath the hide on one side. And there was one remnant of a petal that was in there too. Okay. I don't know if I saved that or not. I don't think I did. No. But pretty cool nonetheless to see that. You know, he apparently someone didn't like his attitude a long time ago because that the
garbage or something.
Yeah, that had been in there for a while. And in that area, I have a rough idea of what would have happened for him to have had an encounter with a person to that happen. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So that was that. Great hunt. You know, obviously client was very happy that he got another crack at the bear that we had decided to pass early on. But that was, I think in the end, and I believe the client even said this towards the end of the hunt. He said, you know what, this is about the perfect amount of time because we've been here for a week.
Right.
Had we shot him on the first day, it almost would have been like, okay, that's awesome. Yeah. But what if we would have seen a 10-footer the next day, a bear that is decidedly bigger? So this way we ruled out the possibility of there being a bigger bear there that we would have not seen yet on the first day. And so he was happy in the end that it all worked out and we were able to get him. And he was a great bear to shoot, you know, but he was happy that we got to actually hunt. Mm-hmm. And then
you shot him on the first night.
Right, exactly. And personally, I would have been bored out of my mind waiting for the next hunt if we killed him on the first day. So I was happy to spend another week. And then the day after we shot him, because that night we just decided to skin him because, you know, the situation with the raft and the tides and the next day's tides, I said, look, it's low water right now. I'll go bring the anchor line up the tree line. And by the time we're done skinning him, we're going to have more than enough water to get out of here. So it's going to be easier to do it tonight than come back here tomorrow because we would have to get here at like 6 a.m. and we might not be able to leave here until about 5 p.m. with tides. So let's just skin him tonight. So we just got out the headlamps and he was a big help. You know, he was big help just holding legs, and he brought a nice bright headlamp. And so while I was skinning the bear, you know, he was looking around and scanning because we were right in the middle of their kitchen where we'd been watching them for the last week. And so we're like, okay, you know, and as we had walked up to this dead bear, you know, there's bear scat, there's tracks everywhere, you know, of bears that we probably hadn't even seen because of the creeks and the terrain, and then they move in the dark. And so he was a big help being able to hold legs and stuff because really on any bear, it's helpful to have somebody just to hold something. It makes it go so much faster, even on a black bear. Mm-hmm. But on a big brown bear, it's really helpful.
I'm sure, yeah.
Have somebody...
Probably similar to like a bigger moose or caribou.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, too, is we said if we come back in the morning, he's going to be stiff. That's going to make this tough. Yeah. So, I mean, it's doable. You know, I've done it before, but if we can just power through this and just skin him in the dark, then let's just do that. And so that's what we did, and it worked out great. And so the next day, we spent most of the day still in spike camp before we went back to main camp. And that day the sun came out, and it was like nice blue skies and had a nice breeze, and it was beautiful. So, you know, pulled the head out and, you know, cleaned the skull and got to turning stuff. And So that was a nice end cap to that hunt. It was really fun, and the client was awesome. He's going goat hunting this fall, so we were talking a lot about that. Yeah, he's a really good guy. He's just regionally where he's from. I'm not going to get into any specifics, confidentiality type stuff, right? But we had a lot in common to talk about. So he was great hunter and very very fun to spend some time in spike camp. Glad he got a big pair.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Shot the Model 70 this year.
Nice.
I used that Trijicon scope.
Oh yeah.
I used the green light.
Yeah.
In that reticle. Yeah, I've noticed that the red light tends to wash out a little bit when it's super super dark. I think it's because I have astigmatism.
Oh, okay.
And so red light on a dark backdrop tends to kind of get a little blur, kind of a haze to it, and the green light stays sharp for me. So I really like that.
I have a friend, guy I work with.
Okay.
I handed him my Leica binos, range-finding binos the other day. They were in my truck. I said, "Oh, here, check these things out." He's former military, so whatever. But got to show off the gear you spent all your money on, right? And so he looks at them. I said, "They're range-finding." He clicked the button. He's going, "Man, I don't see anything." Well, what I hadn't thought of, he's colorblind. He doesn't see red.
What?
Well, he doesn't like red is a different color for different shades for him. Like he can't see red. Like he knows what red is, and so if he'll it's interesting. He says if something's red and he looks at it, but he doesn't know it's red, like his mind will like give it a shade of brown or something like that. But then if you tell him it's red, the next time he looks at it, it's red.
Whoa.
But because like it's just a dim lit, it's just they auto set for the brightness, right? So it just was just enough to see. Like he didn't see it at all.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That'd be a real bummer to go to the store and check out binos and like, I can't see this one.
He doesn't, he tried, he bought like a cheap red dot he tried to put on something. And he said, "Man, I just can't." He gave it to me.
Huh. That's crazy. I never thought about that before.
I had another guy give me actually a pretty nice red dot. Yeah, man, I bought it. I tried it. I didn't really like it. I thought you would like it. It's a pretty nice red dot.
Nice.
Yeah, for a rifle, but gonna have to build an AR for it now. Actually, I've got one that's halfway done. So
is it like a little compact one that you just put on?
Yeah, it's put
on a little cant mount on top of your scope for your deer rifle.
Not that small. No, it's like a Sig Romeo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
A Sig Romeo for like that would go on an AR. I don't remember what all the different numbers of the Romeos are, but
yeah.
It's a Holliston. But
I've got a Holliston on my
I know you do. Yeah.
On my carry pistol.
Yeah.
It has green light, which is great.
I think this one does green and red. I haven't really spent much time. I looked at it briefly.
Some people, that they like to throw shade at the Chinaman, which I think any good American does.
Yeah.
But it was affordable.
Yeah.
And it mounts direct to the slide on my...
Handed it to me brand new in the box. He bought it, tried it, didn't like it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. Like I said, I got to finish the AR. I'm going to put it on.
Can't beat 350.
No, maybe we got to take it hunting.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay. So anyway, that was a good spring season.
Yeah.
All went well. Nobody died.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah. Safety first or third.
Yeah. It's always a plus when nobody dies.
And now a couple more weeks to finish out bear baiting season.
Mm-hmm. Like a week at this point, it seems like.
Week
and a half.
Yeah. I still got... Well, right. But to me...
2 more weekends. Yeah.
Right. That's 2 more weeks of hunting, considering that we only get really actually a weekend per week. So
yeah, now I work 5 10s instead of 4 10s, so I'm pretty much just hunting on the actual weekend at this point.
Yeah, I've told you about what I've been doing at work this week.
Yeah.
That's just right back into the fire
Long
type
hours?
job. Yeah, well, a little over normal.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely, because it's relatively new to us still, what we're doing, it's more difficult to judge the progress and find a natural stopping point
Oh, right.
around the 8-hour mark. because most of our stuff is usually kind of centered around the 8-hour frame just because of what we do. That's a lot easier when you really know all the ins and outs of the project that you're doing. And this is something that I'm brand new to, and this is really our first major undertaking in this field. It's been fun. I mean, I enjoy it. It's definitely something different, and I think it's great to learn how to do it. I don't dislike it. This is just quite the project to kick it all off with. Like as of this point, we've spent 4 days since I've been back at one project.
Yeah.
And it's a big project. And even before that, he had already spent a couple of days there doing the other unit.
Oh, okay.
So by the time it's all said and done, we're probably going to have 8 days at this one. And then the other one that we're going to do for the same guy at the other location, probably going to be another day or 2 at least. But that'll be fun because we'll get to go fishing there. That's a prerequisite. So.
Nice.
Anyway, but yeah, no, it's been nice and warm though. Man, I got home and it was
A little bit.
80 degrees.
Yeah.
Now we got fires popping off. Today, my thermometer in my truck hit 90 on the way back from work.
Yeah, I think I do have one in one of my trucks. I don't have it set on showing me. It's one of those ones where it's like,
Yeah.
temperature or what direction of the compass you're facing or something.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to get lost.
Yeah, right. I don't remember what I have it set on right now. I think the fuel economy is the other one that's on there.
Oh, that's right.
It's an 06.
That's in your black truck.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just see how this all plays out. Hopefully it's not pouring rain when we're trying to sit.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get some thunderstorms, but at this point, you just hang out, and then when it stops, you go in.
Right.
That's...
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of that. It killed a lot of bears that way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because after it stops raining...
Because, they don't move when it's raining either.
It's going to happen when it stops raining. Like, you're going to be walking in there the same time they are. Like, hey, head to the same place you are.
Yep.
See you there.
A wave on the way in.
Yeah. Just give them the old 2-finger steering wheel wave. How's it going? Classic Midwest hello.
Takes 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Are you prepping for your mountain hunt yet?
I am, of course. I'm prepping since the last one. It's I can see why it's called an addiction.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, the bear baiting thing is one thing, but bear baiting, it's easier to keep it within the season. You get excited when spring comes, when things start to melt. And,
Sure.
And you dig out the 4-wheeler and you get it out, and then it sits there for 3 weeks because you can't go anywhere because there's 3 feet of snow everywhere still. But so you get a little bit of a rush. But
yeah,
this is more like, I don't know why. I know some of it, right? Some of it's the challenge and everything, but just the obsessing over gear.
Yeah,
that I'm doing.
Yeah.
To make
spring
the
bear
hunt
baiting does
better.
not have the obsessing over
No,
gear.
you buy a tree stand and a camera.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm going to bring in my fleece jacket because it's quiet.
Right.
And where's my trail cameras? And
Which
okay,
of
that's
my
it.
myriad of other hunting gear am I going to use to stay warm today?
Exactly.
Which camo pattern do I want in the picture?
Man, I have one piece of camo that I actually brought to the bear bait
Yeah.
this year, and I haven't been able to wear it yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's my Cabela's wool jacket.
No, it's been too hot. Huh?
Yeah, it's been too hot, and
I have
and
mostly-
both times I've sat, we've killed bears almost immediately. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I've mostly just... I don't have a lot of heavy layers for the bait because I bring in like a... what's that Sitka with like the Sherpa lining, the lightweight one?
Oh, the ambient.
Yeah. I bring that one because that's a good bait. It's quiet.
First Light makes something like that now?
Do they? Yeah. Well, and even Origin was making like a wool version of something like
Go
that.
Hunt makes one now.
Yeah, everybody's making clothing now, whether you're a clothing company or not.
Well, right. I
say nobody's actually.
That
making
makes
it,
me
but...
wonder, though, doesn't it? Like, that makes me wonder if it's not just a material that's available through a supplier.
Well, to some extent it is, yeah.
And then you just say, I'd like to make one of those, but make it this color.
I've got to be careful with this because I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush here at all, but to some extent, that's what you can do now, especially with like Go Hunt, right? You find a supplier that has this jacket, that's this material that you like, and as long as you pay for enough of them, you can get them, and then you can get them changed how you want, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's interesting that
the higher
now,
end stuff. I mean,
right.
it's like the shirt you're wearing. It's a Sims,
but
SPF shirt.
Yeah, it's just
right?
an SPF summer shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a higher end one because, well, Sims paid a lot of money for it, so you could pay a lot more.
It's probably the exact same material as my other. Sorry, I've got like 4 of these that I wear all summer.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think when you go to a company like Sitka, First Light, Origin especially, although Origin I heard is winding down their hunting lineup because they just can't sell it. I heard that. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
I've heard some like rumors on other podcasts and stuff, and like they've had a bunch of their stuff on sale for a while.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know. I should, like I said, I should be careful.
Which podcast have you heard that on?
Gritty.
Okay, because and not to turn this into the soap opera section of the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
Cam Haines moved on.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been a month or 2 at this point.
I thought it was longer than that. I thought it was last fall he left.
I don't think so. No, this was more recent, I thought.
Okay.
He talked a little bit about it. You know, he said it was more just like a business thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't say anything bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was curious because of the connection there in the past and some of the other relations that he had there. And then now he's with Sitka. You know, he's working with them now, which, whatever. You know, guys do that. It is a business.
Sitka makes a good product.
At the end of the day, it is a business. And if that's your livelihood, then you got to go where it makes sense. So leave that at that. But I thought it was interesting because I read something somewhere else that said a similar thing about Origin.
Yeah.
And I wondered if it wasn't, because remember when you were, this was probably 1 or 2 springs ago when you were buying a few of the Origin things. You had a couple of hoodies and things.
Because I like the camel pattern for
right, yeah.
It fits our
nice dark type colors, yeah.
Looks good in the pictures, right? That's close to what my hat is.
Sure. But I looked into it and I thought, and I think I even told you this, like, it seems like they've got some good stuff, but they're limited. It's heavy material. None of it's like lightweight stuff. Right. Yeah, and that's where I wondered, like, the scope of their offerings was, it seemed pretty narrow. You know, it wasn't that it seemed like that any of it was particularly poor quality. I mean, it seemed fine, but
it's like a higher. I kind of get the impression, even with some of the stuff I have, it's a higher quality product that Cabela's would have sold 10 or 15 years ago.
That's a good way to compare it. Yeah,
it's higher quality than that. It's all American made. It's all premium.
Which kind of goes to what I was going to say next. Is it seemed to me like it was Cabela's type stuff from a decade or 15 years ago, but at modern prices.
Yeah, I think it's a higher quality.
Because it's made in the U.S.
Well, and it's made in the U.S., and I think that's why they're not able, maybe they don't even have a mountain lineup, really.
Well, yeah, I don't really
here.
think that they do.
No, they don't at all.
Yeah.
Everything they have is more of a white tail, really. Like, I mean, you could use some of it for some backpack hunting, sure, but most of it's just too heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean,
even their lighter weight stuff, which I don't mind for hiking a quarter mile to bear bait.
Right. Well, I mean, I bought an even heavier weight pair of pants for bear baiting because I kept tearing holes and stuff walking through matchsticks.
I had those sick, what were those? They weren't the Ascents. They were the next.
Those green ones?
Yeah.
I thought those were the Ascents.
They're similar to the Ascent. They're a little different.
Traverse?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the Ascent was even lighter weight or something like that. I remember comparing them in the store because I got them used. And I really liked them, and then I tore them, like ripped this knee wide open riding a wheeler.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I loved them for bear baiting because they were so lightweight, but
I have gotten to the point where I like, for a lot of stuff, I like those Fjallraven pants. I mean, I'm wearing a pair of them right now. I wear these at work. I've had this pair of pants for a years now. But I've got a few of the more stretchy ones. They call them the Keb pants, and those, I mean, you see those around town all the time, and they make some stupid looking colored ones. They make them like with red on them and gray, and they look super crunchy. I've got them in like black and brown, and then they make a pair that is all waxable fabric, so it's all the super heavy duty stuff. So they're warm, but they're super durable. I bought those specifically for the spot that I've got my bait, because I have now torn several holes in several pair of pants. And so that these ones are hot, but I'm not going to tear them up.
Yeah, a friend of mine gave me a pair of the Kuiu attack pants last winter, and I wore those, I think, once at least this year. And I better than trying to wear the de Havillands into a bait. Just, the de Havillands, I love them. They're tough, but they're just a bit heavy. I think I'd really like the de Havilland lights.
Yeah.
Which, to add to the list of other things I'm going to buy for sheep hunting, my fall mountain hunting, which got us off on this clothing tangent.
Yeah.
But I know I have a long list of gear to buy, and it's all mostly it is about improving the whatever piece of gear I'm replacing, but a lot of it's just weight. And some of it's easy to cut weight. Well, for instance, this is my battery pack that I carried last year. It's 24,000
hours.
Yes, so big.
Yeah. That's like 10 iPhone charges.
It's a lot, yeah. It's a big battery, and it weighs over a pound.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to something like the Dark Energy Poseidon, like you have, it's over double that. It's over double, and then something. And it weighs less than two of your Dark Energies, right? So I by a few ounces, and so I was like, hey, that's decent, right? Well, now I'm starting to learn about some of this stuff. Like Nightcore makes a 20,000 mAh.
And how
that's water? This isn't waterproof.
Right.
Then again, I just try to keep this stuff dry. It's not that hard to keep dry. And that Nightcore, it's 20,000 mAh. It's $100. And this was more than $100. It's fancy. It's got a screen on it and all this kind of stuff. But, and it is like 11 ounces or under 11 ounces. It's like 10.2 ounces or 10.5 ounces or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And one Dark Energy Poseidon Pro is 9,200 or no, 10,200.
Yeah, 10,200
milliamp hours, and it's 9.5 ounces. So for 1 ounce more, you can have twice the capacity in one brick. Yeah.
Wow.
And they also make a 10,000. That is like 5.4 or something ounces, or 5.6 ounces. Wow. So you could go to 2 bricks if you wanted 2 bricks and only gain like half an ounce.
Or for spring bear season, when you don't care about weight on brown bear hunts, you could carry like 3 of those 20,000 so you can watch a movie on a bad day.
Yeah, well, and then like Brian with Gritty talking about, I've been looking at watching some of his gear podcasts recently, and along with a lot of other stuff. He talks about the Cruxley Speed Goat.
Oh, solar panel,
25 watt.
I've looked
it's
at
like
those.
11 ounces, which is half the weight of mine.
Is that a 3 or 4 panel?
I think it's 3.
Okay.
Well, it folds up.
Sure.
Yeah. It's very similar, same type of material that my new one
that's
is.
That's 11 ounces?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's significant. It's a nice panel.
And it's 25 watt.
Yeah.
Does it have USB-C on it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
It'd be lacking if it didn't. Yeah, and all that. I want some Graxaw boot dryers. That's what a lot. I mean, some of it's weight, some of it's nice to have. Like the Graxaw boot dryers, I think would be nice to have.
Yeah, I don't know that I would carry the boot dryers.
You don't think so?
Sheep hunt again.
It's like 2 ounces.
Yeah,
granted, every
but
ounce,
without a heat source.
I do know that makes a big difference.
Yeah, so. It makes a massive difference to the point that.
So even like sticking them in the sun with those, you don't think would be enough of a difference? That would.
I haven't brought them sheep hunting in a few years.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, I may or may not buy them.
If it's a nice sunny day, I just take off my boots. If I'm I'm taking
They're
a break.
definitely on the chopping block on the list.
Like, yeah, I wouldn't bring
and I'm
those
kind
in
of
sheep
split
hunting.
between the Argali game bags and the Graxaw game bags and the Kuyu game bags. And
The Argali stuff looks pretty good, man.
well, they seem pretty tough. And they make a
have.
guide set that's like an ounce heavier than the regular set, and they look pretty tough.
Have you watched their little YouTube video on those?
I haven't.
They put an insane amount of weight
Do they?
in one of those and hang off of it. It's impressive.
Okay.
Yeah, the Argali thing is intriguing.
And that's
to
a few
me.
ounces more than because like the Graxaw set is like 6 ounces for a sheep set.
Right.
And so I'm like, well,
Yeah. You know off the top of your head how heavy the Argali bag set is?
I think it's more like 8 or 9 ounces.
Yeah.
9 or maybe 10 for the guide set. The guide set was an ounce or two heavier.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the Argali thing intrigues me. I just recently got turned on to that. I found just one of the podcasts that I listen to periodically had the founder on there.
Okay.
And he seems like a pretty hardcore dude. He does a lot of hunting. He's been up here. He's been on a sheep hunt. And he hunts all over the place. But I never really thought much of Argali because I don't see it. I don't know anybody that really uses it. And then I had a few clients over the last few years that had some stuff. The guy that was sheep hunting with us last year had a Argali knife, which
was nice.
Looked really nice. And then I had a client that had an Argali tarp, and then
I don't think I knew they made a tarp.
And then the game bags I saw from somebody else that I wasn't hunting with, I saw it at their place, and it looks really high quality. And so after I heard this podcast recently, I went and found a few other interviews from people that had talked to him, and I kind of got, more of like a whole backstory and thing to the company and how it started and what the goal is and what they're doing. Really interesting, like some of their, like his choice in fabrics for their tents, because they make a lot of these TP style, what we would say, for tents, which I had always known that's one of the things that Argali does.
I didn't know they made tents.
That they have a 1-person, 2-person, 4, 6, and an 8.
Okay.
And the 8-person tent uses 2 uprights instead of 1.
Okay.
And so it eliminates a lot of your wasted space around the hem. So you can actually fit like 7 or 8 guys.
True teepee? Is it 2?
Yeah, it's
side
not
by
a
side?
true teepee
Interesting. Okay.
print. It's really interesting looking. And so, but one thing that he mentioned was that sil nylon is not what he uses in his fabrics. So he also offers a lot of Dyneema now too, which a lot of guys are doing. Yeah. It's lighter, but it's bulkier. It doesn't pack down like a sil fabric does, but it's a lot lighter.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, it's almost half the weight of sil nylon or sil.
Yeah, I was looking at those Peaks teepees.
But he doesn't use sil nylon. He uses sil poly.
Okay.
Sil polyester, which doesn't stretch.
Oh.
That intrigues me because the TP I've got right now, which I don't have anything wrong with the TP that I've got now, but it is sil nylon. And when it gets cold and wet for a little period of time, it does kind of sag a little bit around the walls. Now, I've kind of learned how to pitch it to where I have enough slack in some of my lines so that if it does sag, I can just pull a little tension in it and it stretches it back out. And then when it dries or gets any sunlight, then boom, gets rigid again. But I thought that was really interesting. He doesn't use sil nylon because there's no stretch in sil poly.
Interesting.
So I'm kind of
curious
about that
what
idea.
Is made out of then too?
I didn't check to see what the tarp is made out of. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure. But that
here I am.
Really intrigued me.
Now, now I'm getting into material gear, fabric material, with tents and all this. I did buy a tent.
Yeah.
I bought the Big Agnes Copper Spur 3.
I'd be real curious to see if you blow that thing up. I'd be curious if you send an in-reach message and
a lot of money.
Send an in-reach message. I'm walking out of here.
I don't think I will. I did a lot of research.
I think
ordered
if
it.
you and that route in there, you should be able to camp in some reasonable spots. And
Yeah,
not be
the area I'll
exposed.
be in general, I'll be able to camp in
you
some
should be
reasonable
able
areas. And I found a video of a guy with the same tent. I've got the new Hyperbead fabric,
Okay,
which is
that's right. Yeah,
very impressive. That's why I bought the Copper Spur 3, because of the weight with the fabric. It's like 3. I think with the total package and everything it comes with, it's like 3 pounds 11 ounces. That's that's your extra ground cloth and everything. So you can cut it down to almost 3 pounds pretty easily. But which I'm gonna buy some new groundhog steaks for it, because the steaks it comes with look kind of
a little janky.
Yeah, they're like that long. And
Oh,
they're just
yeah.
like two. It's like an I-beam shape almost, and it's like that thick. And I'm like, I mean, it worked fine to set it up in the yard, and they may work okay, but I'm not gonna rely on those.
No.
But I watched a video. Somebody took their trekking poles, like in really high winds, and just kind of lay in the one side of the tent flat.
Yeah.
And they just took their guy lines and they wrapped them around the top of the trekking poles and staked it down like that with that A-frame shape, and it just pulled the tent right up and they were good to go.
Yeah.
So in a pinch.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, I've used my trekking poles to prop up my MSR tent several times while sheep.
Well, because it's the kind of tent it wouldn't really work on the inside,
Right.
and so I didn't really think that it was an option. Then I saw that and it was like, oh yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good tent to have. I don't think I'll regret it.
You know what I'm interested in all of a sudden?
What's
now
that?
that I saw some of the Argali stuff.
Yeah.
They make a 2-person, I told you,
Okay.
TP style tent. It's like 1 pound, 1 ounce.
I saw a TP style. Is it 2-pole too?
No, I think the one you're thinking of is probably the Seek Outside one.
No, this was a different brand I'd never heard of before, like Alpine something, and they didn't have. It was just a tarp. It wasn't a tarp tent, but it was just a tarp, and it didn't have a nest with it or anything, so I didn't order it. It was on sale at REI on something I was looking at, but it's 2 poles, but they're not straight across from each other in the middle. They're straight across from each other at an angle.
Okay.
So you give you more room that way, and it's 2-person. And it was like a pound.
Huh.
And I don't think that included the nest, but
right.
I think with the nest it may have been, it was really light. And I almost bought it just like, well, if I ever go with just a tarp again, that would be what I'd want. And it was like $150. That was on sale, whatever it was. But I don't remember what the brand was. I'll have to find it, because they had some really intriguing products. And they make everything from the super lightweight to like the really heavy duty, more like Hilleberg level of like heavy duty stuff.
Interesting. So the Argali tarp is still poly.
Okay. I don't have anything with me. We're recording on my phone here. So.
2-person tent. They call it the Rincon. That one is. It's a single pole pitch. It has a removable stove jack. Their stove jack system.
Nice.
Looks.
Can I see the tent?
Really intuitive.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Looks like a teepee.
So that's there. You can put a stove in it, although I wouldn't put a stove in a 2-man, most likely.
If you're by yourself.
But the stove jack zips out.
Oh, nice.
And then the stove jack material is in there. So you can zip.
Can you get a nest for it?
Yep. You can get a full nest or a half nest.
Well, that's not that expensive either.
No. Now that's with nothing added. Half insert or full insert is $150, $165. Half floor is $79 added, and then seam seal. But it is, let me check the weight. Yeah. 1.2 pounds, 19.5 ounces.
So
very interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that.
Very, very interesting. And especially for the price, I mean, if you get it without a floor and without a nest, it's only $260.
I was looking at that. How much is the nest add to it?
The
full nest. I think at a 2-man, I'd want a full nest.
Insert brings it up to $425.
Okay, it's still not terrible.
Not bad at all.
I say a 2-man. If I was going to use it by myself, I'd obviously just want the half.
And of course, the full insert is sold out right now.
Yeah, of course.
Half insert also sold out.
Of course.
Mm.
Well, not going to buy that for this fall anyway. So, but if I'm hiking out with a broken tent,
It's just interesting to hear different things.
No, if I had my phone, I'd look up that other brand.
On top of that, their knives that they now they have 3 different knives.
Mm-hmm.
I have become seriously obsessed with knives in the last couple of years.
Have. Yeah.
It's becoming kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Well, not really though.
I've got the distinct advantage of just asking you about stuff because I've been using pretty much this for everything.
Yeah.
As you can tell by looking at it. But it's been for the knife. It's been.
Yeah.
This is the Yukon River knife Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Argali knives as well. They have skeletonized 10 scales on the handles, and they're like 1.6 to 2.3 ounce knives, and they make them in either S35 VN steel or MagnaCut, and even their MagnaCut knives are like $240.
Not bad.
Any other knife manufacturer that's selling a MagnaCut knife is usually over $300, usually. Yeah. And in some cases, they're over $400.
Yeah. You've got the Speed Goat Mini is like $200, even the MagnaCut version, I believe.
Okay.
That's why part of the reason I was looking at that one. Okay. It's for a sheep hunt?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but for a sheep hunt, you could also just bring a Havalon.
Yeah. I just like having a real knife.
Yeah. I've gotten to the same
I would
place.
have a hard time not bringing a Havalon, too.
Yeah. Well, my favorite Havalon type knife is that goat knife. Little titanium handled one.
Oh, yeah.
Super light. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah. See, well, I think I told the story on here when I had to perform surgery on myself.
Yeah. Yep.
With the Havalon.
You did.
And that was like that was a life's...
Digging out your toe.
That was a foot saver. I had to... I dug out the
ingrown
toe with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked quite well.
On the sheep hunt.
On the sheep hunt, yeah. Well...
Some men can, some men can't.
What are you going to do? Keep walking with a hurt foot? I mean, I guess. But if you can stop and make a little bloody mess and...
rub some dirt on it and keep going.
Uh-huh. It worked. Yeah, and then I think I had something in my Stealthy Hunter first aid kit, which is now going to be the
Peaks.
Peaks, yeah. Which they've got a new case for it. Did you see that? Have you looked at their website? Yeah. Yeah, that looks kind of nice.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I need a new one.
I'll keep the OG for now.
I just like the way it all folds out and everything instead of pulling half of the stuff out to find what I need.
Man, I'm so happy that I have the OG rifle covers.
Oh yeah. Although those new ones look nice.
They do.
Quick detach.
But man, now I have a vintage one.
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4. Forget how many I've got laying around, but
I have two glassing pads too.
Yeah.
2 of the OGs. They don't fold nothing.
Yep. Yeah, I've got the OG glassing pads too.
Yeah.
I didn't even get on the folding ones. Yeah, it's the end of an era.
Small era, but
yeah.
But I mean, also, No, I like that gear. Yeah. Good for peaks, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we've got some stuff that we'll.
Yeah. No, that was.
We'll cross that bridge a little bit later on down the podcast road.
Yeah, I'm looking at some tripod heads. I want to get a new sleeping pad. I have this. You'll be interested in this. So I have that Static V
Climate,
or this Climate Static
that
V.
green one.
Got the original. Yeah, it's the original. It's like just over a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine. It was the nicest sleeping pad I'd ever owned when I bought it. I probably had it for like 10 years now.
Got one, I'll loan you.
0 issues with it. I know you do. Which one do you have?
Not the one that you're thinking of, because you've not seen me use this one.
Did you buy a new one?
Because I've used it once.
Okay.
Like 5 years ago.
Okay. I've done a lot of sleeping pad review watching.
It's the Thermarest Uber Light.
Okay.
It's tiny. That big, folded up.
Oh, okay.
It's practically made of, how would I describe the material? I think the strength and durability of it could be compared to like when you have leftover mac and cheese and you put a little bit of saran wrap over it and then you put it in the refrigerator. The tensile strength of that saran wrap is probably on par with that Uber Light.
Okay.
But I used it sheep hunting one season. There's not holes in it.
Yeah.
And it's stupidly lightweight. But
what's its R value? Nothing?
oh, probably like 1.5 or 2 or something. It's pretty much just air in a balloon.
So the one thing, so I also have used, my wife has a Static V insulated, same one I have, just the insulated model. So I started doing some sleeping pad research. Okay, the big brand is obviously Thermarest. And the next biggest brand, I don't know, you've got several. You've got
Nemo makes them.
Nemo, you've got
what's the other one that has the straight baffles, the lengthwise?
Oh, there's several that do.
Yeah.
Oh, Big Agnes.
No.
Big Agnes has one like that.
Yeah, they do.
You've got
Neo
Air. No, Neo Air is the same as is made by Thermarest.
What's the?
And then you've got who makes like the Sil nylon pack covers and stuff in the
Sea to Summit.
Yeah, Sea to Summit has some has some pretty good stuff. But
there's one that has the long baffles in it.
Okay.
X Light? No. Man.
I'll look it up, see if you can find it. So I watched. So we had somebody complain about the fact that I couldn't pick that I should do my shopping not on the show. So I did. And I bought a tent. After that episode, had a friend approach me and say, "Hey, the tents you were looking at, this one's good, get this, get this, get this or get this. This is the stuff to look for." And hey, I used that advice and I bought a tent. So we'll see. I also am thinking about, on the tent subject, I'm thinking about buying the Solo one from Big Agnes too, because it's not that expensive and it's 2 pounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's not a completely freestanding, but it's like semi-freestanding.
Okay.
But for 2 pounds, and it's like this big, and it's the new hyper bead fabric. So I'm really thinking about adding that to the arsenal for lightweight Solo. But anyway, no, sleeping pad. See, a sleeping pad to me isn't all about weight.
Yep, I agree.
Somewhat, but you've got insulation and you got comfort factor. So I was gonna buy a Thermarest. Right, that's what everybody I know uses a Thermarest. And of course, you can get the big thick ones, and thicker is better. Well, not always, because thicker does not necessarily mean you're going to squish into it more.
Yeah,
it can mean you have better R value and whatnot. The climates have, even the one that supposedly is insulated has an almost 0 R value rating on any tests ever done on it, because it has so much area where there's not actually air. It's got the big wide sections in the middle. Yep. And so there's no reason to carry the insulated version. It's like 24 ounces, so it's significantly heavier. But for insulation factor, weight factor, and for comfort factor, I have settled on the relatively new Big Agnes Zoom Ultralight.
I just saw that one pop up.
I can't remember what it weighs. That information is on my phone, which is over there. But I was going to get... I don't know which one to get. It's like a pound and a few ounces. Not crazy heavy, not super light, but from everything I've seen, it's one of the most comfortable ultralight, that under a pound and a half sleeping pads you can get.
Huh.
With a good R value.
What's the? Do you know what the R value is on it?
It's like 4 or 5.
Okay.
So it's decent.
So it's relatively close to the Thermarest Neo Air X Lite NXT, which is the yellow one, which is, I believe that's a 4.
Most of the ones I was looking at, the weight and stuff was all very close.
4.5 on that one. That's, I mean, when I think of Thermarest pads, which is kind of the catch-all name for inflatable sleeping pads for backpacking, I think of the Thermarest X Lite. That's the yellow one. It's kind of middle of the road. It's tough enough that
Yeah.
A lot of guys use it up here, or at least they used to. That was one of.
It's pretty ubiquitous.
Yeah.
To see a thermarest,
Yeah.
even if it's not that one.
4.5 R value. I have got the one that I've been using for quite a while now. The last few years, I've had a couple different versions of it. The first one I had was a long version with the rounded edges to it, and I eventually blew out the valve in that one, but I'd had it for a few years at that point. And then last summer, I bought another one, bought the exact same one as far as the model goes, but I bought it in a standard length with the wide version. So I like the wide version better than I like having the long version. Because
I'm thinking I'm just going to buy a long wide.
Yeah, the problem is I didn't want to have it be that much heavier.
The weight difference, at least for the one I'm looking at, is minimal, if I remember right. And so at first I was like, well, I'll just do the long. And I was like, well, I'll just do the wide, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they make an only wide, actually. I think they made it maybe a long and a long wide.
Yeah.
Right? A regular long and long wide.
So the one that I've got is a 7.4 or 7.3, 7.4 R value.
Yeah, which one is that one?
And that's the one I've got is the Xtherm NXT.
Yeah, I was looking at that one.
And that one's relatively heavy for what it is. I mean, you can get lighter ones. I can't think of the one. There's a company, I think it's a black material.
Sea to Summit makes some black ones. They're like a...
But it's a
They're
long...
like an R9, at least that's what they say they are.
It's a long baffle. Man, I can't.
So this particular Big Agnes one is the spotted baffles.
Yeah.
Yep. From a lot of the stuff I watched and researched, is the most comfortable ones are the ones with the spotted baffles, not the lines. And they also supposedly have a little better R value because they don't have that consistent line for heat transfer.
Okay.
At least they just not better R value. They just do manage heat better. And then the next most comfortable in the lineup I was looking at was another Big Agnes. Actually, it's just heavier.
Huh.
Like the Repeat or Rapide or something like that, but it was significantly heavier. So that, I think, to me, that's one of my priority purchases for everything I have on my list.
Flextail.
They make pillows. I have a Flextail pillow. I absolutely love that thing. It's super lightweight.
They made pads.
I didn't know they did
Sitting
either.
pads.
Let me see. Because the pillow I have is super...
It's got the long baffles on it.
Yeah. Interesting. Wonder what that weighs.
I don't know. I guess we can do this later.
Yeah.
I'm not,
here we are shopping on
I'm not going to be able
again.
to sleep until I remember what the name of that company is. That's really going to bother me.
Have you seen them around?
No, but I know I know other guys that have used them. There's one guy in town that has one.
Well, if you know who he's talking about.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Or come up with 5 different brands he's never heard of that are
probably the case because I've
yeah.
just pretty much just stuck to Thermarest.
Yeah, well, I was going to just because it's so ubiquitous. But then I started looking and researching, and I bought one Big Agnes product. I have a Big Agnes, an older, really heavy
Bag.
sleeping bag from Big Agnes that I really like. And I haven't really found anything negative about anything Big Agnes makes anywhere. Overall. Like, I mean, Ryan Lampers famously used a Big Agnes sleeping pad for forever. I say famously.
I never heard of it.
Oh, come on. Brian gave him crap about it in video after video for a while.
Huh. I don't know.
That was years. I say famously. That means I got in on the inside joke at one point and felt like... Okay, that was a weird way to say that, but...
Yeah.
No, he used the Big Agnes sleeping pad for a long time. I remember. I think Brian was talking. He's doing a gear video or something. And this was several years ago. It was probably the same video where he talked about the chartreuse grass.
That was a long time ago. If that was that one.
Yeah, it was similar time frame probably, but.
Huh. Well, I guess we'll probably
wrap this one up.
Put a lid on this one.
Yep.
We will. We'll plan to have 4 of us on for the next episode because the other 2 guests will have bear killing stories to tell, talk about season at that point, some stories.
Can I make fun of them since I haven't killed a bear yet?
100%.
Good.
Absolutely.
Make me feel better about myself.
And then you and I can record one
In the field?
probably in the teepee.
Yeah.
Or
Or outside the teepee.
And we're going to have to do it in the teepee.
Nice.
We don't give anything away.
I think we could do it right.
Anyway, yeah. Well, actually, I just thought of another problem with this idea, but we'll have to talk about it off air. Anyway, well, we hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah.
And hope that all of y'all are out there stacking up some bears. And if you're not, then stick with it because we've still got one more week left in June.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then it's a week off of, or a month off of hunting and back to it. So.
Yeah. August is quickly approaching. So get ready. Hope you're exercising. All you chubbers out there. I'm talking to myself.
I say my cardio regime is bear baiting in the spring and sheep hunting in the fall.
Yeah. I'm talking to myself more than anything else. Spring bear season just feels like packing on weight.
I told Tabitha this, but like after sheep hunting last year, which after a couple of sheep hunts, I feel like something of a seasoned sheep hunter. I know I'm not, but when I talk to somebody who hasn't been yet or is planning on it, I know so much more.
Like, don't even talk to me, man. Yeah. I don't want to hear from you.
But now having, put a lot of weight on my back for multiple days in a row. Now when I go into the bear bait, it's like, oh, we got one more thing? Throw it on.
Yeah.
I only have to walk from here to, a few hundred yards that way. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's rarely over 60 pounds.
Oh, bear baiting?
Yeah.
The last load was not barely over 60 pounds. It was more like double 60 pounds.
Well, that's why I appreciate
I didn't want to make 2 trips.
Well, you can stick one then. You can, we'll see what's, we'll see what's going on.
Well, it was a time thing at that point, too. Just trying to get back in town.
Well, and I'm the same way. If I've got to make a run in there and I've got dog food, I've got grease, I've got whatever else I'm bringing in. I got my bow, I got my rifle. I'm not making 2 trips.
2 beaver carcasses that were still half frozen, and a 47-pound bag of dog food, and a jug of grease in one hand.
Nice.
That was more than 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate carrying 5 gallons of grease, but
yeah,
I
don't like carrying it when I have to keep my back straight.
Right.
Right. But you just switch it back and forth and
exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we appreciate you guys listening to the show. We will see you in 2 weeks. And don't forget, if you want to support the podcast, leave us a 5-star rating and a positive written review. And if you have any questions or comments or helpful tips or critiques, you can send us an email at...
Oh, boy.
Is it greatalaskahuntingcompany.com?
I believe that's it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And if you can't remember that, then go to our website. Just look up our podcast. And our page will pop up on the internet. Or you can find us on social media, on Instagram. And probably better to try to send me a DM than Mariah because he's not on Instagram much.
No,
but if you want to...
I might get a notification if you send me something. But
well, you didn't because I've been sending you some great memes and just been crickets. Yeah. It's been crickets on your end.
You been on X?
Not much.
Oh, I've been sending you some great stuff on there.
Well, I turned on notifications for X.
All the people in the know are on X.
Yeah. If you want to watch the world burn, go on X.
Hey, the good stuff happens on there too.
Yeah.
You can watch the president and his best friend from 2 weeks ago go at it.
I hate it when mom and dad fight. All right, folks, we'll see you in 2 weeks.